Good evening. Seems like I'm the only one here packing to go camping somewhere. Imagine, if you will, age 27, and you're being told that you're being diagnosed with an incurable neurodegenerative disease. What would you do? Where do you go from there? Now, chances are this hasn't happened to you guys. But at what point in your life do you ask yourself the question, what would I do if I was diagnosed with an incurable disease? Now, if you ask anybody under the age of 30, I'm willing to bet that they have never even thought about that themselves. Well, 15 years ago, that is exactly what happened to me. I was young, 27 years old, had a thriving career, just gotten married, and I had my life all planned out. I was going to play a lot of golf. I was going to travel with my wife. We were going to live an all-American life. House, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, a boy, a girl, and a golden retriever. And then I was told, Jimmy, you have Parkinson's. Now, it all started with stiffness, rigidity, and at times loss of balance. But I found myself months later sitting in my neurologist's office, head down in disbelief. Parkinson's. Are you kidding me? This is a disease for old people, right? I'm young. This can't be true. I don't believe it. In fact, that's how I treated it. I was going to ignore it, and it was going to go away. Out of mind, out of sight. Give me the blue pill. Right? Morpheus, put me back in the Matrix. But fortunately, that's not how things work. Parkinson's was not a part of my plans to live life. I didn't even look at the pamphlet that they gave me the day that I was diagnosed. In fact, I didn't even tell my wife that I was diagnosed for another 3 months. I would live in denial for the next 8 years. And as 8 years went by, my symptoms began to progress, and they got worse and worse, and soon they started to weigh on me. Each new symptom started to add more weight. In fact, I brought them for you here to see today. In my little gift bag here, I've brought some 10-pound weights. Each one of them representing a symptom that I had to deal with. Rigidity, tremors, insomnia, this one sucked, balance issues, gait issues. Let's see what else I got in here. Now, if this was a Christmas party, I'd be the worst Santa. Constipation. This one is full of crap. Posture issues. What else do we have in here? Loss of executive functions. Let's see. Yeah, there's more. Dystonia. And this one is probably my personal favorite. It's called dyskinesia. Now, this is actually not even a symptom of Parkinson's. This is a side effect of the medication that I was taking. So every morning I wake up, I've got to decide, do I want to live with all these symptoms hindering my day, or do I want to live with dystonia side effects? Side effects of my medication called dystonia. Now, dystonia is, dyskinesia. Dyskinesia is when involuntary movements, uncontrollable, happen at any time that they want to. My wife says when it happens to me, I just look like I'm slow jamming to myself. I guess you can say that's not as bad, unless I was trying to win some kind of dance competition. But you know what? All of this was the burden that I had to carry. I had to carry this burden on my back every day. Now, it doesn't matter who you are. If you have to carry 100 pounds of weight on your back, soon you're not going to want to move. And that's exactly what I did. I became inactive. And the less that I did, other problems started to seep in. I gained a lot of weight. I ballooned to the point where I was 240 pounds and I walked with a cane. And when that happens, frustration would set in. After frustration, anger came, and followed by depression. I was snapping at my family for no good reason. This is not the life that I intended to lead. Certainly this isn't the life that I want to live. Now, I remember having these out-of-body experiences as I would sit there and watch myself in these moments of anger. I would float out of my body, and I'm sitting there, and I'm screaming at my 2-year-old little girl. Just screaming, standing right over her. And for what? It was a spilled glass of apple juice or milk, I don't remember. She doesn't even understand why she's being yelled at. As if that wasn't bad enough, in March of 2010, I hit rock bottom. That moment, I was carrying my son, who was 10 months old at the time, down the stairs. I lost balance, and the two of us went tumbling down the entire flight. Now, I kept him above my body the entire way down, so thankfully he was safe. But for me, I came out with minor bruises, minor bumps, but mentally, I will never be the same. That fall made me take a good, hard look at myself. I was becoming a burden to my family, a safety issue, just handling my kids. Instead of helping my wife, Cheryl, raise a family, I was standing idly by and letting Parkinson's take away. Parkinson's was taking away my ability to play with my kids. It was taking away my ability to live life, and it was taking away time with friends and family. I knew then I had to change, but I knew I couldn't take away my Parkinson's diagnosis. But what I can do is I can change the way that I lived with it. I also know that I'm not smart enough to find a cure, and I certainly didn't have the means to fund the cure. So what did I do? I started doing the next best thing that I can think of, and that is to give my body up for science. I started signing up for clinical trial after clinical trial, whichever one that would accept me. And what I got out of the clinical trial, the benefits that I got from it, would surprise you. It's not the treatments that I was getting, and it is not the experimental procedures that they were trying on me. It's actually information. Information about Parkinson's. For the first time in 8 years, I was actually learning about the disease. I was learning this thing called Parkinson's. So what did I do during that time? I was starting to collect all information from all different channels. And there was a lot of information coming in all at once. But there were some consistent themes to that information. Number one, exercise. Exercise, exercise, exercise. All of these clinical trials had a component that's related back to physical activity. And we now know today that high-intensity exercise is the only treatment for Parkinson's that has proven to either slow or halt progression. Number two, I was not alone. I don't have to go through this all by myself. My friends and family they were apprehensive about talking about Parkinson's with me because I was being apprehensive. As long as I would share my story, somebody would listen. I also found that there are others out there living with the same burden that I was. And they have managed to learn about it and how to live with it, and I can learn from them. Number three, there is help out there and more information out there. Organizations like the Michael J. Fox Foundation, like Davis Phinney Foundation and the Parkinson's Foundation, their sole purpose is to do one of two things: help find a cure for Parkinson's, and two, to help those living with it live the best life that they can. And all I had to do to access all this information was simply reach out. So what did I do with all this information that I've received? Well, I started exercising. It started very simply with walking around the block with my cane. When I got comfortable, I left my cane at home and I started walking around. That walk became a jog. That jog became a run. I started running 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. What I noticed is that the more I ran, the better I felt. I was learning that exercise was helping me manage my on and off periods of medicine. Exercise was helping me optimize the dosage of my meds. More importantly, I was learning something about myself, that I can be stronger than I thought I was. Now, all of this so far up to this point was all about me. What can I do for me? What am I doing today for me? Me. Well, that is until when I decided to sign up for the 2012 Chicago Marathon. That all changed. Now, I decided to run the Chicago Marathon only a month before it was to take place. Now, I was new to running and had no idea that 40,000 other people would pay to run 26 miles. It's absolutely crazy to me. But you know what? I reached out to the Michael J. Fox Foundation, and with a month left, they had 1 bib left. To this day, I've always felt that this bib was meant for me. Now, I accepted the bib along with a commitment to raise $2,000 for research. As I began my road to fundraising, I learned more things. I learned that my friends and family did indeed rally around me as I started to share my story. I learned that by reaching out to the Parkinson's community, I can create my own support group with people who have experienced living with the disease just like me, and that if I had needed some answers, they were just a phone call, a text, or an instant message away. I also learned that people were watching and people were listening. I was getting messages from other people telling me that they are now being inspired to move, to run despite Parkinson's because of what I was doing. So I learned all of that, plus I raised $5,000 for research that year. Now let's think about this for a second. In 1 month's time, I did all that. In 1 month's time, I did more for myself, more for the Parkinson's community than I did in my entire first 8 years combined. Now that is an absolute mind-blowing moment for me, right? From then on, I wanted to do more. What can I do? Right? I wanted to encourage others to move. I wanted to encourage others to get engaged. I wanted to show others that they were stronger than they are. Every day that I train, I push myself. Whether if it's just one more step or one more rep, I'm asking myself, what am I doing today that is more than I am doing yesterday? Now, since 2012, those one mores that I've been adding have added up to some pretty amazing things. I've completed 1 ultra marathon, 15 marathons, 103 half marathons. In 2016, I was the first person on record diagnosed with Parkinson's to complete a 100-mile bike ride in under 5 hours. Thank you. And yes, in the last 2 years, in 2017, 2018, I became a 2-time competitor at NBC's American Ninja Warrior. Thank you. Now, all of that is great. What's above all of that is that during this time, my wife and I also helped raise more than $250,000 for Parkinson's research. Thank you. Now that's a far cry. Where I am today is a far cry from that 240-pound cane-wielding Jimmy of 2010. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do today if it wasn't for the information that I received. I was able to take what I learned, and I was able to apply that to my everyday training. Today, when I train, I am constantly thinking, what can I do in my training sessions that can help me live better every day with Parkinson's? All right? So remember these? Rigidity. I'm going to make a lot of noise. I strengthen my muscles. That helps me fight rigidity. Tremors. Full body exercise helps me reduce the effects of tremors. Insomnia. Now let's be honest here. If you're going to work out 4 hours a day and run 10 miles, this is not going to be a problem. Muscle memory and balance awareness helps me improve my balance on a daily basis. forced full range of motion helps me improve my gait. Constipation. I'm eating better. No poop jokes. I'm eating better. Of course, eating better is going to help with the inner digestive system, thus helping with constipation. Posture issues. When I work out, when I train, I concentrate on technique, so which will improve my posture. Executive functions. High-intensive exercise has been proven to trigger more brain chemical release that helps you focus and helps you think. Dystonia, cramps, all day long. Now, if you strengthen your counter muscles, you're able to pull out of these cramps sooner than later. And my good friend dyskinesia, because of my exercise regimen, I'm able to better manage my medicine, and I use less of it, thus reducing the effects of dyskinesia. Now, just because I train with all of that burden doesn't mean that Parkinson's has gone away. In fact, Parkinson's is always there. There we go. One of these will work. All right. What I've taught myself is to train with these burdens and to work with my limitations instead of against them. And by doing that, I am able to tackle any challenge that life wants to throw at me, even if it's hard. Now, I leave you guys with this. If you bring the knowledge that you learn, no matter what it is that you're dealing with, and you work with the knowledge, and you work with anything that you're trying to fight against, instead of working against it, the road to the future, or the road ahead, will be easier for you to handle, even if the road ahead is unknown. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your story with us, Jimmy. Thank you.